creating your own problems. Just get ahead of it. We're not gonna do that. We're already going down this path, and we're like way down this path. We probably finished the year with like 25 people, and year 2, we had doubled in size. If we hired 10 guys, half of them would stay, and probably half of that we'd fire, and half would quit on their own. One of the reasons why they're a little bit higher is because they have EFT, like they have recurring revenue. There's a lot of debt in the business. No one wants to buy a business where it's, okay, fine, but it's literally 10 different businesses.
This is AI and Marketing for Home Service Pros, the show for contractors who want to grow without wasting time or money. If you're in roofing, HVAC, plumbing, or any home service business, we break down how AI and modern marketing can help you book more jobs, close more leads, and build a business that runs without babysitting every task.
What's up, everyone? This is Mauricio Cardenal with Contractor Marketing Pros and the AI and Marketing Show. I have Nehal Kaiser. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me, brother. Looking forward to
the
this
show. Looking forward to. We've been talking for a few months. I'm glad that we got to connect. I'm glad that you got to come out this past week to the event and really I think you gave a great presentation to the people, and I think people learned a lot. People took away a lot of information from that.
Good, man. Well, I appreciate it. You know, anytime I go to those events, I want to make sure I leave and I drop a bunch of value and nuggets and like actionable items and true maybe wisdom or like just things you can take notes on. Because like I've never been like a motivational speaker, like just get you pumped up for no reason. Like I'm going to get you hyped on more of the dream, the vision, the possibilities versus just raw, all right, we got to get going. So I'm happy to hear that. And by the way, awesome event. You know, one thing I really liked about your event, I haven't told you this, the level of engagement was awesome. Like it was, technically a smaller group, if you will, but it was a quality group. And I really appreciate that. The questions that I got when I was listening to the other speakers, the engagement, the note taking, good on you, brother.
Yeah, we got some good feedback. It was my first event, so I think it went well.
That's great.
Yeah. So let's. I want to talk about your background. You have a very interesting background. You didn't come initially from the roofing industry, obviously. Take me back to your background in the fitness space, right? You worked in the Lifetime for 10 years before you decided to go into the roofing space. What did you learn working in the fitness industry that you took away that made you start your business?
Yeah, great question. LA Fitness, by the way. It's all the same shit. But man, a lot. I'll tell you the top things that I learned, though, that I think really contributed to our success at Blue Hammer in the roofing space. The one thing that we learned over there was you got to learn how to recruit, you got to learn how to train, and you got to learn how to develop people. And if you can do those things, you'll never be at a shortage of anything. Because if someone up and leaves on you, because it's going to happen 100%, you've been recruiting already. And you've been training their replacement, and you've been developing the next leader anyways. And that's something that we did, and we just that's how we were able to grow so fast. And the other thing I really learned there is, brother, there's no place that I've ever been where the accountability level is so freaking high. Every 2 weeks, someone's getting demoted, fired, or promoted.
Wow.
And in between, the conversations that you would receive from your boss on how you're a piece of shit or you're not doing this, I don't think you're built for this, you might as well just go home now and call it quits, like that kind of, like it's gonna bring something out of you or it's gonna break you down. And thank God, like it turned out all right.
What was it like the feedback? What were you like measured against? Like, your like KPIs? What was this thing that you were measured at Lifetime Fitness? What was it about? Yeah,
so we were measured. Yes, it was KPIs. I can say this now. I couldn't say this back then when I was an employee, but the goals were like a bit arbitrary. You know what I mean? Like you'd have last year's numbers, and then there would be this month's goals. And there was no true connection to it. Because, you know, when you're measuring your business, you want to make sure you're growing over previous years. So you set your targets accordingly, right? You budget accordingly. You know, if we come up 10%, 20, 30, 40, that's a win. Over there was months where your goal is 100% of what it was last year. And no one ever gave us the formulas.
Wow.
But maybe there was some method in the madness because we all pushed like hell.
They just told you to set up a goal, and just said, if you don't freaking do it, you're gonna have problems. That's all it was. They basically didn't give you like an actual manual. They just said, if you don't freaking do it, we're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I never said it that way, but pretty much. Great company, though. They're actually a great company, though.
Yeah, I think they're publicly traded, right?
They're a monster company.
Yeah.
That's $1 billion company. They've got hundreds and hundreds of locations. When I first started there in 2009, they had like 350 gyms. When I left, they were close to 1,000, and that was over the course of 10 years.
Yeah.
So part of that was organic growth. Part of that was them acquiring new businesses and takeovers. But some of the leadership at the top they were geniuses.
Yeah, and if you think about it, that's a very tough industry. Gym is, I think, even have very high turnover, very high churn. They fail a lot, right? They fail a lot. So it's like it's one of the most industries that fails a lot. So they grew. So you come out from that culture of accountability, growth, mindset, and that led you to the roofing industry. But when did you initially have that spark? Because you talked about the event, which is interesting. What was that spark that drew into the roofing industry?
That spark. There's a good friend of mine who's in the roofing space who was also in the fitness industry with me at LA. And brother, I literally in real time saw his life change. I don't want to say overnight because you and I both know it's never overnight. Yeah. But over the series of like a few months and then a year, then another year, a new house, new Lambo, new girl, new this, new like, and I was just like, that ain't LA Fitness money.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're making.
Yeah.
And we're not buying these big multi-million-dollar homes and having Lamborghinis and stuff. So that was the first thing. And I was like, man, I want financial freedom like that. And I want to help other people do that. Yeah.
And you hustled. Like you actually you worked full time. And then during your off hours, you started knocking on doors. What was that like? How was that like? It was probably grind, right?
Bro, it was brutal. It was brutal, but it was necessary. There was no other way in my mind, like no other way. Because my internal dialogue was, all right, when do I fully go into roofing and drop fitness? Right? Like, is it when I hit X amount of revenue? Is it when we hire X amount of people? Is it when I have X amount of dollars in my bank account? And the true answer is there's never going to be a right time. You just got to do it and you got to figure out the rest along the way. And I'm saying that, but that's not the advice I gave myself. God intervened and he was like, all right, I got that call I told you guys about where I got the call and the CFO and CO and the company's attorney, they're all on the line and they're like, hey, we see that you're the CEO of this business. Like, what's going on? And turned into a long back and forth. I knew there was a predisposition hopping on that line because that call was a conference call at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday evening. You don't do that in corporate America unless it's an HR issue.
Exactly.
And when they pulled me in, I was like, I know exactly what this is about. Long story short, they were like, listen, we need you to make a decision. It was also like, we're pushing you out the door, but make a decision. And it's like, cool. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys. Love you. It's been amazing. But I think it's my time.
Yeah.
I hung up the phone.
And most people, I think, they basically gave you no choice. They said you're gonna burn the boats, like the saying, you burn the boats and take all it in, and you went full steam ahead in your business. But you had some issues in the beginning, right? So you had some issues. You were initially the first year in business, or like this first 6 months, $500,000 in debt, right?
Yeah.
What was that like? Like a lot of people fail in that in the beginning. How you were selling a lot and then you couldn't get the builds. What was that experience like?
And it was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I always tell people there's no worse stress than financial stress, because when you're broke, but I mean like broke, like, oh, your credit cards are maxed out. You don't really got no cash on you. Like, you're trying to be like, you're knocking doors, but you're also thinking about, man, what if my car gets repoed? Like, if I go home and there's an eviction letter on my front door, those are the kind of things that are on your mind. So you can't even work because you're so freaking consumed by that.
Yeah.
And that time, bro, it was terrible, but it was amazing, because in retrospect, I was able to really like see what I'm about. And not one moment was I ever like, I don't think I'm going to do this, because what would have been worse for me was to go back to my old job. Yeah. Because this is one of my biggest driving factors that I've shared in my book. One of the guys that was my boss in the fitness industry, when we left, he was like, yeah, don't worry, they'll be back. you can't tell a guy like me that, man.
Yeah.
You just can't. That just out of spite. Now I gotta win and I gotta rub it in.
Yeah, yeah.
Just yeah.
That's something. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. People say that. It's like people sometimes they don't believe in people, and I think it's the wrong impression to make. And then you started Blue Hammer Roofing. You first year in business, what, 11 million a year in revenue, which is amazing. The first year in business, how did you get to 11 million? Like most contractors, I've talked to hundreds and thousands of them at this point. Most of them, maybe they reach, I've seen like people reach 4 million, maybe 5 million, but 11 million one year. It's very impressive. How did you do that?
Well, thank you. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm going to define it so it's not as much. I had an awesome team starting with my business partners. I had 5, there was a total of 5 of us. So I had 4 other partners and then me. And when we sat down, we did a couple of things. We made sure that everyone was all in, because all in helps you collapse time and increases revenue.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Secondly, we sat down and we wrote down our core values on a whiteboard in one of the guys' house, which was like our office at the time, one of the small rooms. And I was like, all right, we got to make sure we're all aligned on the same page. And anytime we got to make big decisions, this is what we're going to go back to.
Yeah.
And we did that. And the game here is this. There's 4 different types of people that you gotta have, and I've got an acronym for it, and it's STAR, to make sure you have a STAR team. And one person has to be like that structured person. That's what the S is. And I'm talking about spreadsheets, timeliness, organization, meeting notes, the whole works. You got to have someone that's technical. This is the person that's in the weeds, that probably built Legos when they were a kid. Yeah. This is your technical. Why are we doing that? Have we thought about doing it this? Well, why would we do that when they're always asking those? They got that kind of brain. You need that person because they're also going to help you solve some complex problems, engineer style thinking. A is your action person. This is the person when the plan is like 25% made. He's like, all right, let's go execute. And it's like, wait, we still got 75. No, we got to go. We'll build the 75 on the way. You need someone like that, because if not, you go into paralysis analysis, and now you're sitting down, and that's why so many great ideas never took off. Yeah. They didn't have an action person. They had all the minds coming together, and then someone with a quarter of the intelligence one day woke up, found something, was like, oh, I go do this, but they had action. Yeah. And that's what drove the results. And then the R is the relationship piece. Here's the thing, man. You can have all the best systems and processes and people, but if you don't have genuine connections and relationships with the people on your team, it's just a matter of time before it implodes. Yeah. No one wants to feel like a number, and everyone wants to feel like they're a part of something that's greater than them. And you got to have someone who's like always driving the culture and the relationships amongst the people in the business. And when you've got that and everyone is all in, bro, like you I don't want to say impossible, but it's damn near impossible to fail.
You missed the T. What was the T?
No, it's just STAR. It's just STAR. There's no T at the end.
Oh, okay, got you. I thought it was STAR. Okay,
oh, you don't know it is. Structure, T was technical.
Technical, got you.
Yeah,
got
action,
okay.
and then relationships.
Got it. Okay, so that's 4. So then you sat down your partners. This is something you said in the event, which is something very unique. I think very few people do this. Very few companies, partnerships do this, because if you're partnering with somebody, the common saying is that it's like you're marrying someone, right? You're marrying someone, You're preparing for that. But a common saying is basically preparing for the eventualities if things go wrong. And you did that. So you had a partnership, right, where you wrote down the pros and the cons and the actual decision-making tree. Talk about that. Like talk about how you structured that, because it's very interesting, because it actually came from one of the questions in the audience, but I remember that specifically. How did you structure that partnership?
There's a couple things that we did. One of the things that we did was we were always focused on what's right and not who's right, which is a really big deal, because when you focus on who's right, it's all egos and nothing gets solved. That's when you have pointless meetings. Yeah. And we had a couple of those, don't get me wrong, but we'd always recalibrate. The other rule that we had in the business was when we're making decisions, it's going to come down to the person that has the most experience on that topic and the most success on that topic/endeavor. Mm-hmm. And everyone else needs to shut up and listen. Because if not, you're going to have 5 people who all think that they're the reason why the business is successful, and there'll always be a clash. Because if you think about it, like, what's the reason like all bands break up?
Yeah.
There's always one person, two people, three people that think they're the reason for the success. And then it's just a shit show at the end. And then they end up going separate ways, and they like destroy what was once amazing. So we knew that going in. So we were very, very mindful of that. And one of the other things we did, we wanted to make sure that everyone had an equal partnership in this, because you know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. At some point, the person that's getting 5% versus 20% is going to be like, man, I'm working way harder than that guy, Mauricio. Why is he at freaking 20 and I'm at 5? Creating your own problems. Just get ahead of it, but create a contract, an agreement where, and this is what we did, we said, listen, if 4 of the 5 partners say that you got to go, that's a majority, not even 3 out of 5, because there can be cliques. But if all other 4 partners say, brother, you're a problem, you got to go, build that in so you're protected.
I think that did happen, right, with you guys, right? One guy eventually, he had different visions for the company.
He did, and that one was a little bit different because that was at the point of sale, like at the point of transaction with private equity. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to just go, he wanted to do things a little bit differently, which wasn't wrong. He wanted to build the business with a smaller, tight-knit group that were very talented and educated and all the rest of it. But at this point, we were almost like 100 people in, and it's like, we're not going to do that. We're already going down this path, and we're like way down this path, and we just weren't speaking the same language anymore.
Got it. Okay.
And we like mutually, and I'm still friends with him now. Like, he'll listen to this, he'll watches all my content. He's like, bro, I love you. Like, he's my boy.
Yeah.
He's good people. And he was his name's Freddie Murphy, by the way. Freddie, when I was in all that debt, and I was trying to figure out how I'm gonna solve this roofing dilemma, I called him, and he showed up and went to homeowners with me to help break down estimates and collect payments and answer questions. And he was getting nothing for it.
It's amazing.
And then we ended up becoming partners.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
yeah, bro, special human being.
Awesome. So it took, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years and 10 months for the sale, right? From initial start to the actual transaction, right? 3 years and 10 months. So in 3 years and 10 months, you sold to private equity. And my research says about 1 in 200 companies ever sell to private equity, which is about 1 in 0.5%. So it's very rare that happens. Very rare that happens. It's mostly for established businesses, but it's very rare that happens under 5 years, which is amazing.
Thank you.
How did you do it? Like, I know it's a lot. It's a loaded question, but
yeah,
like you had to basically started with the vision, right? That's what you said. You were saying before, you started with the vision. You had the vision from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Is that where it started?
100%. Yeah, we did a few things, and I'll tell you what we did. We started off with a vision, and the vision, you got to make sure that you are painting that thing better than Pablo Picasso himself. People got to be able to see it. They got to be able to, most importantly, they got to be able to feel it. Mm-hmm. Like, when you finish and you just explain the vision, and like everyone gets to watch, they leave and they're like, oh shit. Like, you literally see the smile. Yeah. And you got to do that with anyone that's willing to listen. Your suppliers, give them the vision, bro. We're talking about your subs. We're talking about your salespeople. Doesn't matter who it is. Your lady's friends, because I also believe every encounter is an opportunity to recruit. So if I've got people on our team that they came on board because they knew my lady, and they're like, well, we heard you talking about it, and we want to join. So like, you never know who's listening and who's watching. So that was number one. Secondly, the people, bro. The people. Like, if you pull away all the people that we had in the business, I think we do have awesome systems and processes, but you pull away the people and we're not the same business. We really aren't. In that, taking care of your people, looking after them, like helping them grow outside of work and making sure they win inside of work and make money and all that. The third thing is, you got to be developing leaders. Leadership development is a big thing, because there'll be a moment where guys have made so much money and they're going to start thinking, what's next? And you need to be developing them. Hey, listen, I know you're going to be thinking, what's next? Here's what I got in mind for you. Back to the vision. But you're also training them how to become a leader and how to hold people accountable, how to set metrics, targets, be an example. The other one I also believe is a big one is we treated our business like a university in the sense that, and I know university has a bad connotation, right? Everyone's like school's whack, whatever. And I don't even disagree with it either. Some things that are worth it. But we made sure we were constantly educating our people, whether that meant on the craft in roofing, whether that meant in sales, whether that meant in operations, whether that meant continued education for our supplement team, whether that meant me bringing in a credit repair expert to educate them on that, or a financial expert to show them how they need to be spending their money. We also hired a therapist because I'm a big believer that 80% is mental and psychology and 20% is mechanics. And if you can't get this right, you won't get this right. So we invested in that, and we made our business a university from the sense that we were constantly educating our people. Yeah. And the last thing is you got to empower people, man. This is where a lot of people go wrong. They think that they are the best at whatever that specific task is, and they may be, but they never want to let go of it. They never want to let go of it. And it keeps the business from scaling. So we always empowered our people to go take that next opportunity, to go step up and go do this. Hey, and if sometimes it starts as easy because we'd knock doors. Hey, Ashley, you choose tomorrow's knocking location. She's like, me? For the whole team? Yeah, it's on you. You got this. You're empowering someone. Now you're training them. You show them obviously how to do it. But you know how much ownership she's going to take of that small task? And then you're going to see how well she performs. And now there's your development. Yeah. I think when you bring all those things together, bro, this business isn't that hard.
Yeah.
It's really not.
And that's a thing that holds a lot of companies back is when the founder, the owner, the leaders, they don't want to lose control, right? They don't want to let go of the things they're doing because maybe it's an ego thing where they think they can do it better than anybody else, right? I've seen that happen where I can do it better than anybody else. Why do I have to delegate it? But that's the thing that's holding them back.
Yeah.
There's this guy, I forgot his name, but he's a private equity guy. But he says like the company once you reach about 30 million, you're gonna have to find leaders, and a lot of founders have trouble letting go and finding those leaders because the leaders are the ones gonna take it to 100 million. Those are the ones that are gonna take it to the next level. But a lot of founders have that trouble letting go. That's a big issue. But even the skill set, like if you're stuck at typically under 5 million, it's typically a skill set issue. I think what separated you guys is that you had a really good recruiting system, right, and a sales engine that drove a lot of business. That's what kind of drove the actual sales because it's really a mathematical game. If you look at 11 million in revenue the first year, that's maybe 800 roofs or something like that, or it's just a math game. It's like, how did you sell 800 roofs? It's okay. So it's just you have this amount of appointments per week. You have this amount of sales, this amount of canvassing appointments, and then you do that and you do the math, and that's how the math comes out. So it's not really that complicated when you do it by math. But the other thing is the recruiting engine. So that is a big thing that is fantastic because like it separates you from other people. Because the way I think you would scale any business is the inbound customers where you get recruiting actually opportunities, and the other thing is inbound opportunities for adding more people, adding more headcount. Mm-hmm. So how did you add so many people in such a short time?
There's a few things that we did. Everyone knew on our team. I said it since the beginning. I was like, listen, who wants to be the MVP here? Everyone raised their hands, right? I said, I'm going to tell you exactly how you become the MVP here. You got to be able to RTD, recruit, train, and develop. So everyone knew from day one, okay, this is how I become the most valuable player. Well, why do I want to become the most valuable player? Where you're going to make the most amount of money. You're going to get the best opportunities. We have a group that's called our War Council. And in our War Council, when we do our private equity deal, you'll get an earnout. You'll get shares. Mm-hmm. That's why you want to be the MVP. So immediately everybody knew the drill. So we recruited. And I'll tell you this about recruiting. Social media is an excellent platform to recruit folks. People are watching you all day, every day. And you got to know 90+% of people are unhappy at their jobs. Everyone hates who they work for. They don't trust them. They don't like it. Give them something to show up for. But the best recruits are the ones when, Mauricio, it's your cousin or it's your friend from 10 years ago, because now you have a vested interest in them and you're going to make sure they win. And now they don't want to let you down, so they're going to make sure they win. Yeah. And when you combine all that together, best recruits are top performers. If I go through our top guys, they were recruited by someone else on our team.
Got it. So you gave the leaders stake. You gave the leaders something to look forward to with the vision. You said it with the set the vision, and then you gave them the ability to, if you know anybody, just kind of word of mouth. Hey, you know people, bring them on. We have the opportunities. We'll train you. We'll develop you, and anybody's obviously wants to make money. I guess people that's what you're looking for, like a sales team that wants to make money, wants to grow, right?
Yeah, like let's not get it twisted. Like, we are a sales, marketing, recruiting, and training business.
Got it.
We just happen to be wearing a roofing logo. I could literally rip that roofing logo off everyone's shirt tomorrow, and you choose a product, and we could slap that logo on, and I promise you we'll have one of the fastest first years to success of any other company.
Yeah. I think people that are similar, I've never done this before, but network marketing, is that something that people you work with were familiar with, like network marketing a little bit? Or
no, surprisingly, no. Oh. Surprisingly, no. Similar model, similar thought process, right? But no.
Got it. Just recruiting, training people, and just giving them the opportunity to work with people. Yeah, that's amazing. So you how many people do you add in the first year? And you grew 30 million the second year? What was it for second year?
Yeah, we did a little bit under, if I remember right, I think we did like 28-ish million. Yeah.
And you added, how many people did you add from the first year to the second year?
So first year, we probably finished the year with like 25 people. And year two, we had doubled in size.
So 50 people.
Yeah, and remember, there was moments where we had 60, and then we lost folks.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the people you hired didn't work out. So like it was basically like you were. When you're hiring like that sort of at that scale, you're adding about 2 or 3 people a month. If you're adding probably more than that, you're just losing some of the people that just don't stick around. I think most people don't stick around, right? The only people that actually do well are actually the ones that stick around, right?
So here's an interesting data point. In the roofing industry, and this study is 2 years old, the turnover rate in our industry, you don't know what it was?
What, 80%?
78.
78.
Good.
I got it.
Good. Yeah. Very, very good guess. I feel like you knew that. You studied that already. That wasn't a true guess. It was an educated
guess. Yeah.
When we did our metrics, because when we were selling to private equity, they wanted to know our turnover rate.
Yeah.
And we were right at around 50-ish%. So not like anything to like really brag about, but well underneath the industry standard.
Yeah.
So that means if we hired 10 guys, half of them would stay, and probably half of that we'd fire, and half would quit on their own.
Yeah, that's and if you're adding people, and how would you actually create the demand for those people? You said by word of mouth and recruiting. Did you run Indeed ads? Did you do social media campaigns that would drive the actual opportunity? Because like if you're hiring 10 people a month, well, I have to interview like 50 people or something like that, or 100 people.
Yeah, we did everything. So one was personal referrals, like I mentioned. Yeah. We were all over Indeed, ZipRecruiter. Like we're still over. If you go look Blue Hammer or Roofing Sales, I promise you'll see multiple ads from us on those. Social media. Listen, here's something that I did that's very unconventional, that a lot of financial gurus will say was a terrible decision, and in some cases it was. So this is late 2021. We're now starting to make some money. We're starting to get a little bit of success, and this is year 2, and I go out to go buy a Lamborghini. And one is I'm a dude, right? And I'm a kid, and I love cars, and I love fast cars, and who doesn't like a Lambo, right? Yeah. But the other thing I told my partners was, watch what this does from a recruiting perspective, from an attraction perspective. So I show up to the dealership, right? Here's a funny story for you. The car was priced at $240,000, right? It was a Lambo Huracan Evo rear wheel drive. Mm-hmm. Beautiful car, black on black, blue brake calipers, blue and back, Batman style, right? So I go, and I got pretty good credit. And I go, and they're like, have you financed something like this before? I'm like, nope. They run my credit. They're like, look, like we can approve you for like $75,000. And I'm like, well, this thing's $240,000. And they're like, yeah. What does that mean? And like, well, you got to come up with the cash. I said, there's got to be another way, bro. I tried with my bank, a credit union, a different finance, and everyone said no. So I hit up two of my partners who are really good friends of mine, like brothers and sisters, Chico and Lenny. And I was like, listen, I know it sounds crazy, but I promise I'll get you back. I need like 40 grand each from you guys. And bro, they're such G's. And they're like, is this for the Lambo? I was like, yeah, just don't ask. I was like, just trust me.
Yeah.
Wired me the money immediately. So now I had 80 grand, but I still had like another, 80-ish to 100K-ish to come up with. And I had that in my bank account.
Yeah.
Like I had that saved, but that was like almost all my money.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what though? Like if worst comes to worst, like at least I enjoyed a dope car. Even if like it is what it is. I've been broke before. If it happens again, like it is I'll sell it. Worst case. And bro, people started seeing people think I did this for like my own hype and ego, and I promise you it wasn't. But like I set up like I talked to the Lamborghini folks and I was like, listen, I need to do like an unveiling. Can you guys help me out with that? They're like, hell yeah, they were excited about it. And we had a bunch of people come out and they were there for the unveiling. And I put it all over my social media. And I can't tell you, I literally don't know the exact number, how many people started hitting me up. And we're like, bro, how'd you get that? What's roofing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank God it paid out.
That is something that I see all the time. And I now you explain it, it's a genius move, right? It's something that I've always thought about, like, hey, that can work for sure, and you're attracting to people because it attracts so much attention. You're attracting people that are hungry, that want to see like the Lambo and stuff. There's people that do this in Miami all the time. There's a lot of people, and you're not in the space, but there are the info guys. This guy knows the info guys and all these.
I know all about it, brother. I know all about it.
They're in Miami all day doing that, and I'm always like kind of a.
Do you know why they're doing that?
Well, now you taught me. That makes perfect sense.
It's working, bro. They're doing it because it's working. It's working in two ways. It's making them money and it's getting them women.
Yeah.
And that's what they're after: money and women.
Yeah.
So like, I think it's crazy too, and I think it's very cringe. But if that shit's working, like, what can you say, right?
Well, you the way you put it together, you're right. Like, typical business person would not recommend that. I'm a smart business person, but you used it as a marketing ploy, and it attracted you more people.
Because yes, and it attracted the individual I wanted.
Yeah.
And you know what the individual I wanted was younger, male. Preferably, don't have nothing against women. We got some awesome women on our team. Preferably male, hungry, wants that lifestyle, wants to be driving a Lamborghini themselves, and they're hungry, brother. Like they're ready to eat. That's who I wanted to attract, and that's what we got.
Yeah, exactly. And there is a pathway. You can show them a pathway to that. You have to get good at sales, basically what it is. That's the whole thing. Get good at sales. It could be, roofing is the vehicle you use. It could be other things too. But roofing is the vehicle they use. But you have to get good at sales. And roofing is definitely an example that can lead to that. I love that. I love that story. So, okay, let's talk about the recruiting, sales, training, right? You're big on training with the actual people that you work with, because like it's very important to develop the people, develop leadership as well with the team. And now getting into that private equity sale, because it's very rare that people do that. They get to that level. What you had that vision to reach that goal. Mm-hmm. Talk about that, because I see you said it took 18 months before you started looking until the actual transaction. Why did it take so long?
It was our fault. None of us had like really sold the business before. Yeah. One of our partners, Miguel, technically had sold his business, but not to private equity. The due diligence private equity does is like no other. What they need from you.
What do they look for? What kind of questions they ask, and what do they think?
Bro, anything and everything like in your business. Like they'll look through your records and be like, hey, you spent $5,000 on an attorney. What was that for? Can you show us proof? Was it resolved? Where can we find it? Can we, like every minute, everything that they perceive that could be a liability, and rightfully so, Because, they spend 7 figures doing these audits for the amount of folks they hire from a legal perspective, IT, accounting. Like, there's so much that goes into it. But if you think about it, 7 figures isn't a whole lot to spend when you're doing an 8-9 figure deal, right? So they're asking all the right questions, truly. They're figuring out who's like the key players in the business, which partners are staying on, who's leaving, what's the equity breakdown, what's like anything and everything you could think about. They got it covered, and we went through it. But our 18 months was 18 months because we didn't do initially a proper Q of E, which is a quality of earnings.
Yeah.
And what happened is, like, we didn't have good EBITDA numbers, or like we looked at the business and we're like, this can't be right. So then
What do you mean we didn't have good EBITDA numbers?
like our numbers were just, like garbage in, garbage out. The info that we had, the data, the numbers that we had in the business, we didn't have things categorized properly and all the rest of it.
Okay.
So it wasn't like showing the true value of the business. So we're like, wait. So then we like started cleaning everything up. We brought in a higher level accountant to help us get things ready. We hired a fractional CFO to prep our books. And then we really got into it. And then we really started going to market and started shopping around.
What was the EBITDA that you were at when you were making the transaction?
At transaction, I can't tell you what the multiplier was because I try to keep that a little bit. Yeah. We were right around 7 million-ish EBITDA.
That's very, so 7 million. So I can kind of guess where the multiple was. So that is.
We were a little over 7, but yeah.
So a little over 7, which if you look at, I kind of guess what the multiple was, and you can look at it, and there's basically what the typical ranges are on that side, and that's what it was. I'm assuming that's what it was, around that range. And if you look at it, right, I think the roofing is not the highest. I think pest controls, like in the home service, is the highest multiples. I think I don't know if HVAC has higher. Have you guys?
Yeah. So pest control was high, and one of the reasons why they're a little bit higher is because they have EFT.
Yeah.
Like they have recurring revenue.
Yeah.
Versus in roofing, it's
transactional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite recurring. So, and that's EFT is king.
You have the EBITDA. You have the sale. This is what was it? What did it feel like? What did it feel like after? You were nervous. What did it take me?
Like when the deal was done.
Yeah. Tell me. You.
Look, can I tell you what happened in the build-up though? First,
tell me about the build-up.
There's some things like you gotta hear like that were just wild.
Yeah.
So we're going through this deal, right? And we were being advised by a group, a mastermind group that I was in. One of the guys who said he sold businesses and bought, and I don't think he did, and I never really truly believed he did. But I still listened like a dummy. And he was like, "Don't you dare tell your people that you're gonna sell the business."
Yeah.
And they're going to freak out and everyone's going to quit. And I was like, oh shit, we can't have that happen. We're about to go like do a deal. Yeah. We're sitting on a conference call with a potential business broker getting ready to go to market. We've got all our books together. The 5 partners are sitting in a huddle, and one of the partners was kind of off screen but he had questions and he had comments. But he didn't want to like interject in between, so he sends a message to our group thread, and he's like, "Hey, what about this?" And telling the guy, ask about if we tell the guys about selling the business, what's our multiplier, what kind of money, and there's only one problem. He sent that message to one of our group threads of all of our leaders, and bro, in that moment, everyone was freaking the F out. And we're like, holy shit. Like, what are we like? It's like, what are we going to do? So one of the partners was like, just exit the group and pretend like it wasn't like, it was just like the wildest. I was like, that's not going to work. We can't do that. I said, listen, we got to hit this head on. Maybe it's a sign from God.
We got to that. But did anybody had an inkling? Any of your leaders have an inkling to know before you even that?
Kind of, in the sense that we said, hey, one day we want to make sure that we can give shares and that's going to involve private equity, but we left it very vague and open.
Got it.
But in that text message, it was like, we're going to sell the business. And when people here sell the business and they're your people that you've been rolling with for a decade or whatever, they're thinking, oh crap, these guys are about to leave. I need to figure out my next move. So I remember getting on a conference call and hosting the call and just kind of addressing some of the concerns and letting everyone know where we messed up. And it didn't turn out to be terrible, but it wasn't that moment. Also along the way, we had, what was it? It was like maybe 2 weeks before the sale was supposed to be completed, because you set a target date, right? When you go in there, so people don't get deal fatigue, because these things can run a while.
Yeah.
They set a target closing date. And 2 weeks before, our attorney hits us up and they're like, hey, TWC wants to do an audit. Or they've already begun an audit. And TWC is Texas Workforce Commissions. Mm-hmm. And, 1099, W-2, that stuff can get very tricky, right?
Yep.
And so misclassification of people and all the rest of it. So God was on our side again, bro, because we were anticipating like a
fine,
a big like 7-figure,
fine, yeah.
high 6-figure, but even worse than that, we were anticipating a long drawn out process. You know how these things are; they're never quick.
Yeah.
And bro, I have no idea besides saying God was looking out for us. We told our attorneys, say this, and we started putting some pressure on them to give us an answer and told them we've got a bunch of things going on in the business. What's our number? Our number came back like at $21,000. And we're like, pay that shit. And we need in writing from you guys that this is done, paid for, there's no issues. And we use that to say, listen, we have a clean bill of health. We went through an audit. So that happened a couple weeks right before the sale. And then 1 week right before the sale, unfortunately, we had a guy fall, one of our subs, one of our installers fell off of a roof.
Yeah.
And he wants to sue us now. And one thing you got to know about private equity, they don't want liability. They want all the good stuff that comes with the business and the purchase and the assets. They don't want none of the bullshit. So they much rather be like, you know what, you go figure that out and then hit us up when you're ready. And we're at the finish line damn near.
Yeah.
And man, we like had to get on calls with the old crew and the old sub, go meet in person and kind of coach this person out of it, file with our insurance. And
you pay him a nice little chunk of change.
Actually, no. In this scenario, don't get me wrong, we may or may not have offered some money,
Yeah.
but now we were just able to file it against our insurance. And the crew chief, we were able to talk to him, and we had a good relationship with him. We've been working with him for years, and like thousands of roofs we've done with him. He kind of calmed the guy down, and we helped cover medical bills, of course, to look out for him and the family. And that was it.
Yeah.
And we finally made it to the finish line. And let me tell you something. I have this video up on Instagram, Facebook, and it's the day of the deal, right? The day of the deal, we're all at my house. And what happens is they schedule a conference call.
Yeah.
And anyone that was involved in the transaction and the buildup along the way is on that call. Your business broker, their broker, your attorney, their attorneys, the partners, the new partners. Everyone's on that call. And I put that thing on speakerphone. We're in my kitchen. You can see the video online. And they're like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And the deal is done. The deal is closed. The wire will hit. And we put that thing on mute before she can even finish what we're saying. We're just freaking screaming, losing it, just high-fiving. And we all run outside and jump straight into the pool with our suits on. And we're like, it was incredible. It was a momentous occasion. So we wanted to celebrate.
Yeah, life-changing money.
Yeah, it was awesome, man.
You did it the right way to do it, right? Which is very difficult. Founder, that's like a dream for many founders, many business owners. What happened afterwards? So you don't have control anymore. That's a big. It's like I've talked to a lot of business owners that experience like a feeling of loss after like selling their business because they're not in control anymore of their destiny. Like what happened after that?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? I understand that, and I brought this up at the event. The one thing that I think all founders must accept long before they sell to private equity or a private investor, whatever, is you're selling your business. Like, you can't be shocked when you lose control. Like, you just can't. You sold it. Like, if you sold your car, like, would you still have full control of it? No, you freaking sold it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it just doesn't work that way. And I think most of it's up here, and people know it. They just didn't want to ever accept it.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, no doubt it's got its challenges, because back then we'd make a decision and we'd implement that decision right on the spot. Maybe now it's not as easy, but there's some really good private equity partners that you can have good dialogue with, and they do value making sure that the business is healthy. And if you can help them understand, hey, it's healthy because of the people and we need to look after the people, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. What have you learned in this process since after, like, from specifically what have you learned, like, working with other private equity, contractors, right? What have you learned in that process?
Specifically working with the private equity group, or
both. So what did you learn from working with the private equity group, and also what did you learn working with these other guys in other regions?
Yeah, we've learned a lot. My understanding of a business from a financial perspective, P&L perspective, trajectories, you could have never taught me this in school. The way I can read a P&L today, and that's 100% because of the financial guys that we have. Not only that, but the positioning of how we go back to market, and the things that we got to do, and the systems and all the rest of it, insane. And also, like, the importance of just remembering, the bigger you get, the bigger the target on your back gets, right? So it's not as easy as us saying, oh, we want to go try the software, because we need our IT team to look at it and our legal team to make sure nothing funny is going on. And what if it's a software that can be easily hacked? And now they have access to all of our data. We weren't thinking that at that level when we were just Blue Hammer. So there's a lot of things like that we've learned. And working with these other brands, you learn a few things. One, everyone loves their business, and everyone feels like their business is the best, which is a great thing, right? You need to have that. But it's not as easy to influence people's thinking after they just got a big
check.
A 7-8 figure check, and they got to make changes in their business, because based off your actions, you just told them what they're doing is right. And now you're like, well, that's not right. And we're like, no, it must be, because you paid me all this damn money, right? So there's a little bit of that, and I tease on that a lot, because I'm also in that.
Yeah.
Right?
It's an ego thing, I think. It's 100% ego thing. I mean, at the end of the day, though, like, if you look at the roofing industry just in general, and if you look at just the home services space, there aren't really a lot of billion-dollar corporations. There's none, really. There's one that the Blackstone, which just bought home services group, Champs Group, right, which for $2.5 billion. But it's a combination of multiple companies together. And we'll talk about that take another bite at the apple in a second. But there's no really billion-dollar companies out there. Might be a reason for that. But if you look at the highest level companies, the guys that are doing multi-billion, even trillion-dollar companies, they're at a different level. Like, there's different levels to the game at the end of the day.
So many levels, man. One of the cool things that we learned that I do, this is one of the reasons of partnering with private equity, we learned from the other brands, like, we've got our Southeast brands, the big one being Perimeter Roofing. Those are the best roofers I've ever seen. From a knowledge perspective, from understanding roofing systems, construction, the way they can get roofs approved with insurance on technicalities. And so when you're partners with someone like that, you're trying to extract as much information from them as you can, right?
Yeah.
And all the different brands have different processes and systems, and now we're becoming a little bit more aligned on them. But I like where we're going, because we're inching closer to getting towards, like, what's right.
A streamlined system.
Yeah, because you got to homogenize that thing, right? Like, no one wants to buy a business where it's, okay, fine, it's a $500 million revenue business and it's got a healthy EBITDA, but it's literally 10 different businesses with 10 different pay plans and systems and softwares, and they could have done that themselves. They have the money.
Yeah, it's similar to when you have like if you're talking to like a home service business and they're doing 50 million, right, in revenue, but you have one location doing, and they have like 20 locations, right? They have one location doing 30 million, another location doing 10 million. That's 40 million, and then you have the other 15 locations doing 10 million. That's not really like that interesting. It's like those other locations are really not that valuable. Like it's really just a lot of small businesses together instead of one big business, which is what they look at, right?
Yep.
I'm sure that's the next move. I'm assuming that's the next move is probably taking another. They call it taking another bite at the apple, right? That's what that means. You're basically you're putting the group together, and you're gonna potentially sell to another bigger group, right? That's the plan, and
Yes,
you're gonna,
sir.
and that's the like it says basically you're just. Can you talk about that? You're basically organizing all the brands together to put together a bigger company together to sell to a bigger exit. How was that like? You're investing like sort of like what the percentage, like 10% or something? Into that?
Yeah. So every deal is a little bit different, right? Some do 70% of their business that they sell off, 80%. So that means you leave in 30 or 20% respectively, right? And it's always easy numbers, right? If the business was 10 million and let's say 7 million of it was given up front, you left $3 million in. But remember, now it's not in Blue Hammer or whatever your business is, it's in the whole platform. That thing can multiply at a pretty high level. Yeah. And there's other variables that, get thrown into it and numbers and all the rest of it. But ultimately the goal is to flip that business, add in everyone's EBITDA,
go to market,
and then that 3 million you're hoping is 9, 12, 15 million, and you've done that over the course of another 2 to 5 years, and it's like that's also why I did it.
Yeah, and you're getting basically, instead of selling for 5x, you're selling for 15x. That's like the plan. Yeah.
Right. And the thing is this though, I mentioned this the other day. There's a lot of debt in the business, right? Because they debt load the business whenever they do these transactions. So they may sell out a 15x, but let's say 12 of that may be all debt, and then it's cash on cash of 3x, 5x, or whatever.
Got it. But you're still making plans.
Yeah. Where else are you going to multiply your money at that rate, in that speed, in that time, right?
Yeah.
Just like.
Are you guys having issues integrating everything together? Like, I'm sure it's a big challenge. Like, are you using AI? Because I think we talked about this briefly. Like, have you guys been using AI to integrate everything together? That's probably a big project, I'm assuming, for you guys.
Yeah, we're early days with AI. The group's talking about it a bunch. I think our group is far more ahead than most of the other groups out there.
Nice.
That doesn't mean we have the most revenue, because there are groups that have more revenue than us, but revenue is not the full story, and neither is EBITDA.
Yeah.
Like that's not the full tale. Like, are the systems like one now? Like, is there one legal process to everything? Is there one HR? Is there one accounting? Like, these things matter, and they contribute to a higher multiple.
Yeah.
And I would say we had a checklist, and it was some of the things I just mentioned of like 8 different things we got to do when we go to market. And then it had every brand right next to those 8 things. And we are just about fully integrated, which took us, think about it. We did our deal in October of 2023. We're in
May 2026.
June of 2026.
Yeah.
It took a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like of hard work.
Yeah.
So some of these guys operating at the PE level, they're very good at what they do.
Yeah. What are your plans, man? What are your plans after this? What do you want to do after this whole thing is done?
That's a really good question. I go back and forth on it. I know I can't go retire. Not because I don't have the money, but I just can't sit still. Like technically I'm here on vacation, but we're working.
Yeah.
Right. And before this, I had a meeting this morning at 9 a.m. at a coffee shop and did some so I'll always be working. And then I think I may start considering doing some speaking stuff. because I want to be able to give some of the game that I've learned over the years. Like, so that's up on my list. And even right now, I am actively looking to invest in other businesses. Yeah. I was explaining to this young kid that I met with earlier today, and one of the things I was explaining to him, I was like, listen, right now, you have two things to give to an employer or to yourself, because he's a young entrepreneur, sharp kid. And I was like, you've got your time and your effort. Like, that's all you really kind of have to offer. You don't have an expertise yet, nor do you have money, but you got time and effort. But one day you hit a moment where you give so much time and effort in exchange for money, and you get experience along the way, then you're sitting on the other end of the spectrum where now you got money and you have experience / expertise. And now you're no longer leveraging the time that you can provide. You're leveraging the money that you have, investing in businesses, and not only just from a financial perspective, but your expertise, you're now investing inside of a business. So that's what I want to do. I want to take everything that I've learned and the money that I've accumulated and invest in businesses, but not just monetarily. I want to be able to coach some of these up and coming business owners and help break through what you talked about at your event, which is like, how do you scale past 10 mil? How do you scale past 20 mil? I'll show you.
Yeah. Amazing. Hey, man. Thanks, man. Thanks for being on. Appreciate it, man.
Brother, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure.
Sir.
Thanks for listening to AI and Marketing for Home Service Pros. If you got value from today's episode, do us a favor. Follow the show, share it with a contractor friend, and leave a quick review. Want help using AI or smarter marketing to grow your business? Head to contractormarketingpros.net and book your free strategy call.